Hello, this is Falterfire, and today's video is an introduction to the Paladin. So, for this save, I am working with a level 4 Paladin so that I can show off the early stages of the character. This video is intended to be a sort of introduction to how the character works and how the mechanics work. I'm only going to be doing depth 2 here, so the video is relatively short. And the goal, like I said, explaining how the character's abilities work, what your goals are going to be while playing the character, and just sort of a general overview of what makes Paladin a unique character. So, I'm not going to go over... No, I think it'll be easiest if I explain things as we go. So, I just want to quickly read over the two passives, and then things will make sense as we get going. So the first passive is that whenever you fully block an enemy attack, you create a charge up. You'll upgrade the charge up if you have no shield afterwards, after you fully block. So for example, so first of all, fully blocking is a new term that means that all the enemy's damage that was dealt hit your shield, and none of it spilled over onto your health. So if you have no shield afterwards, in order to get that upgrade, then you have to have exactly 10 shield, and then you have to get attacked for 10 damage. If you have exactly 10 shield, you have to be attacked for exactly 10 damage. So it's going to be pretty hard to line that up. You will very rarely get these perfect blocks, but when you do, you get a nice bonus. The second passive is that you are going to gain Sturdy 2 whenever you trigger a status. So if you've played Rauden, you know Rauden gets growth, which is maximum mana whenever you trigger a status. Paladin gets Sturdy, which is maximum shield. This is to sort of emphasize the difference between the two. That Paladin is a defensive character whereas Rauden is going for big mana specifically. And you'll see kind of what that lets Paladin do as we go through this run. So, let's get started. Alright. So, looking at the map, we are going to go right to fight the Vessel of Impulse, because there are some cool cards that will be useful to us here. Let's see if I can get the card I want from this fight. There are two possible drops. Actually, both of them are fine. So, as we get started, first note here, I have Hobble. So now we are taking 5 damage twice. That means that each time we have 12 shield, so we'll take 5 damage. We will get one of those charge ups that I was talking about, because we will not take any health damage. Then we will take 5 more damage. It will also hit our shield, and we'll get a second charge up. They were previously doing 7 and 7 damage, which you may know that 7 plus 7 is 14, and that 14 is a bigger number than 12. So if that had been the case, we would have taken 7 damage and gotten a charge up, but when the second one hit us, it would have done 2 damage to our health, and we would not have gotten a charge up from that. So what do charge ups do? They give you energy. Quick Start has a lot of words on it, but the important parts here are gain 2 mana and energy 1. So we now have an energy. So we see underneath the Paladin this counter of energy, and this Voltaic Surge card is also going to give us energy. It's going to give us 3 energy. It's going to apply 3 shock to us. Create the treasures. We're going to end the turn. Alright. So now, we have these charge ups. Guess what they do? That's right, they give us energy. And they're temporary, so if you don't play them, they go away. So we're now at 6 energy. You'll notice that we went to 5 energy, we got a supercharge button. And supercharge button, as you might guess, puts you into supercharge mode. Alright, and supercharge mode, I will explain when I activate it, which I'm going to do here in a moment. First of all, Galvanized Blade is another one of the Paladin cards. It gives you Powerful 2 this turn and Shock Rune 2, and it creates 1 double slash, which is upgraded if you have no mana afterwards, which is why I played cards in the order I did. So I have 4 mana, I'm going to play this. So unupgraded double slash is 2 mana to deal 5x2 damage to the first enemy. But it's going to be upgraded because I had no mana. And now it's going to do 12x2 damage. We have 2 temporary powerful. But let's go ahead and supercharge. So you'll notice we have 9 energy. Once we supercharge, a few things are going to happen immediately. The first is Paladin swords come out. No more Mr. Nice Paladin. The second is we lose 2 energy. We had 9 before we supercharged. Now we have 7. The third is we will create a charged strike and it will go to your hand. So that's the first thing, swords coming out. Not really an important thing. The important 2 things to note that happen when you're going to supercharge. -2 energy, get a charged strike. Now, what does being in supercharge mode actually mean? Well, we'll see. First is my quick start. Now will give us powerful 1 this turn, because that is the other condition. But you'll notice we had 7 energy before. We still have 7 energy, because you cannot gain energy while you are supercharged. Your energy can only go down while you are supercharged. And when you hit 0 energy, you're going to leave supercharged. So you may be asking, how do I hit 0 energy? Or why would I be losing energy? The answer is by playing cards. So you notice all my cards have these lovely green numbers in the top left. That would be because their cost was reduced thanks to supercharge mode. While I am in supercharge mode, all my cards cost 1 less. And this double slash is now doing 19x2 damage because while you're supercharged, all of your stuff does 60% more damage and applies 60% more status. So this originally would have been 10x2, but then we had powerful 3, which takes it to 13x2. And then we have 60% extra, and 60% of the base 10 is 6. So you have 10 plus that 6 plus the 3 from the powerful gets us to that 19. And 19x2 is a big number that is absolutely going to dumpster this front jerk. Our other card, this Charged Strike that I mentioned, it is normally 3 cost, but thanks to the bonus, it is only costs 2 this turn. It is temporary, or only costs 2 while I am supercharged. If I leave supercharge mode, it will go back to costing 3. The other note is that it deals damage to the first 2 enemies, and it will draw 1 card. So its base value, I believe, is 3x2 damage, and draw 1. The damage, of course, is increased by all the same things I mentioned on the double slash. But then we double both of those values if we are supercharged. And so that is actually 100% increase to both values, which is why the damage number goes from 8x2 to 11x2, is because it's going from plus 60% to plus 160%. And then the powerful is not affected by that. So it is 3x2 times, or plus 120% plus 160% of 3, which is, once you account for rounding, 5, and then plus 3 from the powerful to get us to that full 11. So this is going to hit both enemies, and it's going to draw us 2 cards because we are supercharged. So when you are supercharged, you are generally going to want to have at least 2 mana, because you're going to want to make sure that you will draw, you have to make sure that you're going to draw enough. You're going to make sure you have the mana to draw cards. You want to make sure you have the mana to use your cards too. The other note while supercharged, though, that is a slight downside. Let's gain 10 shield. Oh. So when you would try and gain shield, you instead are going to apply a fixed amount of shock to a random enemy based on how much shield you gain. So I gained 10 shield, which means that it put 10 shock on a random enemy, in this case, this one. The other note that I forgot to mention is that you'll notice we are now at 5 energy instead of 7. It's because we played 2 cards. Every time we play a non-mana card, so the quick start didn't affect it, but if we play, say, a double slash, now we lose an energy. We play a treasure, we lose an energy. This card would cause us to gain energy, but we're supercharged, so it causes us to lose the energy for playing a card, and we don't gain any energy because we're supercharged. You'll notice we also didn't gain any powerful. Gaining energy while you're supercharged does nothing. It is only because Quick Start specifically says it gives you powerful, that it gives you powerful while supercharged. Other energy granting things will just do nothing. And then lastly, we'll play Shield Stratagem. which has a lot of text on it, but the important thing here is it's going to try and give us shield and give us tough, and it will succeed at one of those things. This poor fool doesn't know what is about to hit him eventually. Not this turn. Because I do not have the energy this turn. So we have shocked ourselves. That was on purpose. And then... Alright. Galvanized Blade will give us swords, which will let us win. So that was a lot of time spent explaining on the first fight. I was like Arcane Aegis because it is very, very good. And it likely will help me demonstrate the other thing. Because the Sturdy wasn't relevant because I entered Supercharge and then that was the fight. Alright, so we can gain Sturdy, which I think we want to do. I wanted to play the Arcane Aegis, but I think that ensuring that we get 2 charge ups is more important. So one of the notes with Paladin is that it is very important to choose your moment to supercharge wisely, because there are kind of 2 general things you can think about doing. The first is I can supercharge early, because you can supercharge as early as 5, but I only have 6 here. I'm only going to get to use 4 cards before I pop out of supercharge mode, and one of them was that charged slash. But the flip side of that is that if you know that you want to gain shield, you want to... So let's say that I had exactly 5 energy. I could take advantage of the fact that I knew I only had 5 energy in order to carefully get into overcharge or get into supercharge, get my damage out, and then get back into regular mode to gain shield before ending the turn. Because of course, one of the risks, if you gain too much energy, is that if you have, say, 20 energy before you go into supercharge mode, that's 18 cards you have to play before you'll be able to gain shield again, which, if you win, is great. Or if you freeze all the enemies, that's great. If not, you could have a bad day. All right, Assault Protocols. This will let me show off the other Paladin mechanic. So the other note, and why I'm not going to take these boots, even though they are unquestionably the better item normally, is that if you evade all of the hits in an attack, then it will not give you a charge up. It will not count as a full block because you didn't actually block. You dodged. That's not the same thing. Likewise, I may not take the evasion card from this fight, even though I normally would, because I want to I want to actually block the hit, all of the hits. All right, so we will now have... We're going to have way too much energy here. Do you actually want that? All right. I think now is an okay time to supercharge. So you'll notice this charge up turns off to indicate that we cannot gain energy from it. It will not do anything for us. Charge strike is going to draw us cards. So here you can see that extra, that 60%. Like I said, it applies to statuses. So we're going to get 16 arcane out of this. And it's going to apply shock because we can't gain shield. You'll notice that we now have 4 sturdy because we got 2 from the arcane detonation and 2 from the shock. The other note here is that Assault Protocols gains us 1 mana for every rank of shocked among all enemies, and that makes it a mana card. We won't get any energy from it, but we will get the other thing, which is counterattack, which I do want to show off. So I may do that here in a moment. See what else is left in the deck? Okay, that's a focus. It means that this is going to work out very nicely. So we are now out of supercharge, unfortunately. I would have liked to have stayed in supercharge just a little bit longer. I kind of was hoping I was going to get the damage bonus on this, but actually no, this is perfect. Because now we get to show off counterattack. So Assault Protocols gives you 1 mana for every rank of shocked among all enemies, gives you 2 energy, and it gives you 1 counterattack. So what counterattack means is that you use up a rank of counterattack every time you fully block an attack. And when that happens, you create a free double slash, which gets upgraded if you have no shield afterwards. Counterattack isn't reduced at end of turn. So this will stick around unless I get arcane detonated until I fully block an attack, like so. At which point I get this 0 cost double slash, which I can then use to, as the name would suggest, counterattack. So Assault Protocol is one way to get counterattack, but the main way you will get counterattack is from a card that you will acquire, some cards that you will acquire later that are related to an advanced Paladin strategy that involves cards you unlock at level 8 that I'm not going to be talking over right now because it didn't seem like it was worth including here. I think we're going to go ahead and get tough, and then we are going to get this super double slash again. Okay. So Assault Protocols is a card that is very difficult to actually get mana out of most of the time. But it's pretty good at getting energy. But I think we're going to start with this. We're going to supercharge. And I think we're just going, oh, I keep misclicking. Just eat the damage. You'll notice though, supercharge will persist between turns if you have energy left over. You lose supercharge when you hit 0 energy and not a moment before. That said, because supercharged is a buff, if you get hit with an arcane detonation, you will lose supercharge. Also, if you play a card like Super Beam, which I hope to be able to show you when I get to the boss fight here, because it is it's one of the epics. It's the level 1 epic, in fact. Playing Super Beam will pull you out of supercharge always, for reasons that will become very, very obvious once you see it. All right, let's go. As you may have noticed, Paladin's pretty good. This is only depth 2, so it's not the hardest difficulty. But still, I think that it would be difficult to say that Paladin... It would be weird to say that Paladin isn't doing well, I would think, considering how this fight is going so far. So we're going to shock ourselves. That's on purpose. That's fine. And then we are going to get a lot of energy because I want to really supercharge. It's pretty powerful. Let's start by blowing up with that. Hit with that. All right, that was kind of an unfortunate set of draws, but it's fine. We still have enough shield to fully block that, so we will get this double slash here. I want to get this Galvanized Blade off. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it. But I think it's going to involve leaving supercharge here, which is part of why I didn't play this, because I wanted to save it until I could get out of supercharge. Okay, so I think we're actually going to discard. No, because do we need all this mana? We have 4, 8, 12. So these two both pay for... So yeah, we can actually afford to discard that. No, we can't. I am dumb. I wasn't accounting for the double blade. We won't be able to play this. That's fine. Okay, so... we cannot hit supercharge again. We're not quite going to get there. But... we can detonate off one of those frenzy stacks, which is nice. And then we can attack and get some tough. We get a pretty good amount of max shield here, which means we'll get to just start our turn with a bunch of shield in reserve. Just go ahead and get a lot of energy to work with next turn. Okay. This is probably overdoing it on energy, but not break even on energy. We will now get shocked again. So I would like to thank Vessel of Impulse for volunteering to help me demonstrate cards without actually getting in the way. I think that we can all agree that that is very polite. Once again, going to get that double slash off. Yeah, we're shocked and we're taking not much damage. Let's see what else we can draw. Alright. I think we do want to supercharge because we want to be able to get... Oh, that's unfortunate. We're weak, so we can't get out quite enough arcane. But we can get more shock out, which I should have done that in another order. But still not quite enough. Alright, so yeah, let's go and get that out. Fully block. I think I'm probably going to end this video after this fight if I don't get Super Beam. If I do get Super Beam, I'm going to keep going for maybe one more. Let's go ahead and reroll. No Super Beam. Alright, I think that I will just explain what Super Beam does using words. And actually, I'm just going to go ahead and abandon the run. And I will show you what Super Beam says. So Super Beam is a Paladin card. Oh, that's not Super Beam. So Super Beam is deal 15 damage to all enemies and apply 10 shock to them. You double both values while you're supercharged, and you lose all energy when you play Super Beam. So that means that if you play Super Beam, you're leaving supercharged. This can be a downside or an upside. It could be a downside because it means that, of course, you may end up having to play Super Beam and then leave supercharged before you're ready. You know, you were planning to use the mana discount more, you were planning to get more bonus damage out of it, but you needed to sequence Super Beam in, so that messed up your plans. But the other thing that can happen is that you can find yourself with a lot of energy. Let's say that you had gone, that in the early game you just never found a good window, and so now it's later in the game, later in the fight, and you have 20 or 30 energy, but you know that you're not gonna win this turn, and you're gonna need to be able to get shield again. In that case, Super Beam can be a lifesaver because you can supercharge, play your damage cards. You can supercharge, play your damage cards, then Super Beam to get rid of all of your extra energy and bring you back down to regular mode, so you can then get your shield up when you so that you have that ready to go. There's another card, Eye of the Storm, which has a very similar effect. So Eye of the Storm is 0 mana. It draws you 1 per energy, and then you lose all your energy. So this can be incredibly powerful. This can literally draw you a full hand of cards for 0 mana, which, needless to say, is pretty good. That is, I like drawing cards. I'm on record as being a big fan of drawing cards. Of course, if you are hoping to use Supercharged, this can fight for your Supercharged use, especially if you're not using cards like Voltaic Surge to generate energy and you're relying on the passive. Eye of the Storm can make it so that you never get enough energy to actually Supercharge, which is a big cost because Supercharge is a very, very powerful thing, as you saw, and losing the ability to do that can hurt. But it's a lot of card draw, and just like Super Beam, it can help you in situations where you have gained too much energy. The other note that I didn't mention on Super Beam that kind of I implied here is that if you play Super Beam while you're at 2 or 3 energy, that will, even if you're not supercharged, like you've played it while not supercharged, it still loses all of your energy whether or not you are supercharged when you play it. So that can be a pretty big downside to consider when you are playing it if you aren't playing enough energy gain to ensure that you can supercharge when you want to. So I said I was going to end after the run, but I do kind of want to quickly talk through the low-level Paladin cards. Just very quickly, because I've already talked about Super Beam and Eye of the Storm. You saw Assault Protocol. Assault Protocol will very, very rarely generate you mana, but it is a no downside way to get energy. It gives you that counterattack, which means that if you're not planning to win the turn you play Assault Protocols, it will very often be worth a free 5x2 strike, often on the next turn. Sometimes you'll have to wait another turn. Sometimes you get it now with the aforementioned level 8 mechanic, goading, but I'm not going to get into that one here. Something to look forward to. Charged Strike, which is the card that you create while you are when you go supercharged, is a card you can just have in your card pool. And it is a pretty solid card. It does some damage to the first 2 enemies, not a ton, but when you're supercharged, it draws you a card, but it also draws you a card, which means that it replaces itself, which is valuable. And if you are supercharged, it is now positive on cards and does quite a bit more damage. It's also a pretty good upgrade because once it is upgraded, it now does 3x3 damage and draws 2. And so if you're supercharged, it's going to draw 4 cards for 3 mana because you'll be supercharged. It will cost 1 less. So that's very good. Paladin is kind of like Catan in some ways, where Paladin is capable of very, very explosive turns where you are able to just output a lot of damage very quickly, and you get some card draw from the supercharge, from the charge strike, to help you get through your deck to get to more damage, and your stuff is cheaper, which helps a lot with playing out the cards that you want to play to get those kills. But unlike Catan, Paladin has an amazing backup plan in the form of the defense that is available to Paladin. Paladin builds a lot of sturdy, which means that Paladin is able to store a lot of shield, and Paladin is able to afford to run more shield cards because of Supercharge letting you convert shield cards into sources of shock, which means that they won't be dead even when you decide to go on the offense. You can Supercharge, play your shield, get shock out on enemies, and then convert that into kills, which also means that you don't necessarily need to fit in actual shock cards if you can count on using Supercharge for your shock needs, which can be hit or miss, but is worth considering. Volt Transfer. Volt Transfer, the base case for it is 3 mana, draw 2, which is just introspection. Fine, but not amazing. However, if there are any shocked enemies, you can remove 1 shocked from an enemy and draw 2 more cards for a total of 4, and you get 2 energy. At which point you're paying 3 mana to draw 4 and gain 2 energy, which is a very good deal. Introspection Plus needs an upgrade, and it is 4 mana, draw 4. So this is a very, very good card if you are able to actually remove shock from enemies. If you can't, it's fine. The big downside is if there's only 1 enemy and it is shocked and you don't want to remove that shocked, you don't have a choice. You must choose an enemy, and so if there's only 1, you must choose that one, and you can't choose not to remove shocked if it's present. So if you play Volt so keep that in mind, is that it can get awkward sometimes in boss fights where you need to you're trying to draw your big damage card, but your only draw source is this Volt Transfer, and the enemy only has 1 shock stack, and it can be kind of awkward that way. Quick Start is Paladin's common mana card. It gives you 2 mana and energy 1. You gain powerful 1 this turn if you are supercharged. Pretty straightforward. It is very similar to other character common mana cards in that most decks for this character will want the common mana card in the starting deck because it just works well with what the character is trying to do most of the time. Just the key mechanic of the character. Voltaic Surge. I think if you're playing Paladin, you want at least 1 Voltaic Surge in your starting deck. Without it, actually getting enough energy to supercharge is very, very challenging. You can also think of this as being almost, but not quite, card draw, because this will get you the charged strike from when you go supercharge. 3 shocks yourself is negligible. This can have an impact in fights where enemies are shocking you, but even if you're playing 2 of these, it is very, very difficult to end up actually shocking yourself if you're paying any attention at all. Especially because some amount of the time you won't end up playing them because you draw them while you're in supercharge mode, or you just don't have the mana to fit them in. I generally don't play 2 though, just because I think that starting decks tend to be pretty packed, and I think 1 does enough work. There's definitely times where I've run 2 and had good success. Blinding Shield. Blinding Shield gives you 8 shield and gives all enemies weak 2. It is also free if you are supercharged. So this is an alternative to Hobble. I don't tend to like it as much just because it is 8 shield. If you play it while supercharged, you'll apply 8 shock, which is not enough to shock, and I have a vendetta against cards that don't quite do that. But weak 2 is a very, very powerful effect to have on all enemies, and getting shield along with that is nice. Like I said, it is kind of expensive in terms of mana because it does cost 4, whereas Hobble is only 2. But especially if you opt to go for a cheaper tough source, this can be a very, very good card to have access to. And the upgrade is 14 shield in week 3, which is a very good upgrade. Because now it is, if you're supercharged, it will shock something most of the time. And week 3 means that you don't have to play it as often to maintain 100% uptime on week. Or you're more likely to be able to maintain 100% uptime on week, especially as your deck gets larger. You saw Galvanized Blade. I think it pretty effectively demonstrates what it does. It's not a cheap card. It is functionally a 6-mana card. And that's if you're only planning to use the temporary powerful on the double slash. It also needs you to be playing around 0 mana for it to be the most effective. If you are paying 6 mana for this and you're only getting the unupgraded double slash, it's going to be underwhelming. But if you're paying 6 mana for this and you're getting that 10x2 double slash, that 10x2 base damage double slash, you're doing a total of 24 damage out of it because it's actually 12x2. Suddenly it becomes a very, very good card. Because 6 mana for 12x2 is still very solid at common, and the upgrade gives you 2 of them, which will both be upgraded if you have 0 mana afterwards, and it gives you more temporary powerful, at which point this is 8 mana for 13x4, which is 52 damage, which is better than Singularity. That is more than a Singularity of damage. And it's damage that you can split between 2 targets. So Galvanized Blade Plus is an incredibly valuable upgrade. So yeah, just so we are clear, this, and this are unlocked at level 2. So practically speaking, by the time you're able to customize your deck, you will have access to them because you have to be level 2 to edit your starting deck and level 3 to edit your card pool. So yeah, that is your guide to beginning Paladin. I hope that you found this useful. I do intend to do an advanced Paladin guide, but I'm not sure exactly when that will be. I need to figure out how I'm going to structure it. But I want to talk over the level 7 and 10 passives and the level 5 and level 8 Paladin unlock cards, as well as either in that video or a different one, I want to show off a lot of the other Paladin strategies. I do plan to record full runs with various Paladin strategies. On my main save, I have probably 3 or 4 Paladin decks ready to go that I want to show off that use different sort of angles on the Paladin passives and cards. But that will be later. That's it for now. See you then. Toodles.